But we got asked questions about, hey, what are your thoughts on Ronald Darby, right, here on the stream? Neither one of us love the move. We're not going to lie to you. We're not going to twist it and put on the orange-colored glasses. That doesn't mean we're not hopeful that it works out. That doesn't mean that we don't hope and expect him maybe to do well under the tutelage of Vic Fangio. But, Zach, what was your gut reaction to the Ronald Darby move, and especially the report that came out, a few different insiders, including Ryan O'Halloran of the Denver Post, I want to say Troy Rank as well, saying that he was the number one corner on his big board, on George Paton's free agent big board?
I don't buy that, first of all. That sounds like front office or agent spin to me. How could he possibly be, in this market, Chad, the number one corner on Paton's big board? I'm going to make a few analogies, though. In terms of the actual signing, I don't necessarily hate the player. It's not like Melvin Gordon. I hate the contract. I think the first thing that came to mind, and I think for sure the Broncos overpaid, but it reminds me of A.J. Boye. That's the other thing. He's an off-injured corner, Ronald Darby. He's expensive. He's more of a cornerback 2 than a cornerback 1, and he can be good when he's healthy, and he cannot be good as well at times, in pass coverage when he's obviously banged up or not playing up to his standard. I thought, though, he's getting more guaranteed money, $19.5 million, more than Joe Hayden is getting in Pittsburgh. And he's on the level of Joe Hayden, in my opinion. I understand the Broncos needed cornerback depth, but I think it's indisputable they overpaid for him. They got a little desperate. A guy who's played one 16-game season in length of his career, Chad, that was last year, and that last season he had 0 interceptions. So the Broncos need a guy who can create turnovers, and I see that he led the league, or he has a lot of pass breakups. The only thing that means, he's been passed at a lot. He's been targeted a lot in coverage. I hope Fangio can make lemonade out of this lemon, and I hope he's not a lemon like A.J. Boye, but they better not rely on him like they did with A.J. Boye as a cornerback 1. My first thought, Chad, was I was surprised at the money, for sure.
Yeah, I was surprised. First of all, whether it's true or not, I was surprised that Paton put it out there on the wire, right, to the birdies, that this was our number one corner, because there were some serious studs out there. I mean, put aside Patrick Peterson, put aside Richard Sherman, William Jackson III, Xavier Rhodes. Those two guys alone to me are head and shoulders. Now, look, the Ronald Darby of like the first 2 or 3 years version of Ronald Darby in the league. Now, that was a guy, Zach, I could understand maybe going out and paying some money for.
He's not that type of player, though, and he hasn't been for a while. And as good as he was for Washington last year, Chad, what is the reason that they didn't bring him back? Was he that good where he didn't warrant a second contract? Last time I checked, they have some salary cap space as well. The fans wanted him back, but he was kind of a failed cornerback in Philadelphia, and he rebounded last year in Washington. But to hand the guy 3 years, $30 million, when you have Justin Simmons twisting in the wind 2 years in a row on the franchise tag, it just doesn't really sit right with me at all. They took care of Shelby Harris, is going in the right direction there, but we don't know Phillip Lindsay's status, second-round tender, original tender. A lot of things are still up in the air, and then you go out. Like last year, you have your own players waiting, yet you hand Melvin Gordon last year $8 million. This year, same thing with Simmons. You hand Ronald Darby $10 a year, 30 overall, 19.5 guaranteed. Way, way overpaid in my opinion.
I want to grab this real quick, John. Savage Boy Kev. This has been tickling the back of my subconscious ever since the Darby news broke. The Broncos, I know at some point had an interest, a connection to Darby, but I don't remember what season it was, Kev. I'll try and do my research on that. But if anyone can remember what it was, drop it here in the chat. But yes, that was the old regime. Now, look, this is supposedly George Paton's show as far as making these personnel decisions. But hey, maybe John Elway threw down a few names that he liked as suggestions, and maybe this was a like-minded agreement that they both could get behind Darby. Now, here's the thing. What Darby might lack in ball skills, he only has in 6 NFL seasons, he has a grand total of 2, 5, 6, 7 interceptions. So he's barely averaging more than 1 pick per year. And picks aren't easy to come by. So it's not, I don't want to sell him too short, but he doesn't have any forced fumbles. This guy doesn't have ball skills. Whatever he lacks there, he makes up for as kind of, the non-negotiable that we hear about Vic Fangio when it comes to corners, tackling, being willing to hit, being willing to come up and play run support. That's something that Darby, Zach, has no problem doing. But then the side effect to that, unfortunately, the collateral damage is this dude has 1 year under his belt where he played all 16 games. So you wonder, like you said about AJ Bouye, injury concerns, and then it blows up right in their face in year one, and they had to quickly move on.
I hope it's not the case as to what you laid out, because that would say to me that Elway still very much has power and he's still very much in charge. And I don't want Elway making the decisions. If this was George Paton's decision, that's one thing. But I hope that the Elway influence is kind of weaning. I just think, you could have found a cornerback, Chad, who's a good tackler for $5 a year, $6 a year. You could draft a couple guys next month. You didn't have to overpay for Ronald Darby. And if he was the number one cornerback on the Broncos big board, I have to question that as well. I didn't think they should go out and sign Sherman or Patrick Peterson, but Mike Hilton's out there. Mackenzie Alexander's out there. A lot of decent cornerbacks. William Jackson's out there. Troy Hill's out there from the Rams. If they wanted to spend that kind of money, they could have found a better quarterback.